Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast.
Today, we are looking at CoreWeave.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you've been following the headlines or, just glancing at your portfolio with one eye closed, hoping for the best, this is the story of the moment.
It really is.
I'm calling this the AI infrastructure inflection point.
That sounds a little dramatic. But looking at the chart, I suppose drama is the right word for it.
It is dramatic. We are witnessing a battle between, absolutely explosive revenue growth.
The numbers are wild.
Genuinely hard to wrap your head around. And on the other side, you've got this mountain of litigation news that has scared off a lot of people. It's a high-stakes clash between business fundamentals and just pure market fear.
It's the classic unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. As usual, before we start, subscribe, like, and comment to this video to support the show.
We really appreciate it.
It helps us keep the lights on. So let's set the stage here. If you pull up the chart, CoreWeave has been on a wild ride.
To say the least.
The stock has seen a massive drawdown, falling somewhere between, 53 and 60% from its peak. It's been brutal.
Oh, it's been ugly. We're talking about a stock that was flying high at around $187.
Everyone was calling it the next big thing.
And then it just cratered.
Yeah.
All the way down to the $80 range. But, and this is a big but.
Yesterday, January 26th.
Yesterday, we saw something interesting. We saw a bullish breakout.
Right. And it wasn't just a little tick upward. It gapped up, hitting around, 108 intraday?
It did. So the question we have to answer today is this a dead cat bounce?
A fake out.
Is this just a temporary reprieve before it heads lower? Or is this actually the start of a real recovery?
Exactly. And to answer that, we have to look past the scary headlines and, actually open up the hood. We need to start with the fundamentals.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when you look at the top line, the revenue numbers, it doesn't look like a company in crisis at all.
Not at all. In fact, it looks like a rocket ship. In the third quarter of 2025, revenue hit between 1.36 and 1.4 billion.
Alien in one quarter.
And that is up 133.7% year over year.
Triple-digit growth. That is so rare, especially for a company already doing billions in revenue.
And it's not slowing down. Management guidance for the full year of 2025 is sitting right around 5.1 billion. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Go on.
If you look at what analysts are projecting for 2026, which we're just starting now, they're expecting a jump to around $12 billion.
So they're going to more than double again. That's aggressive.
Yes. But the number that really stood out to me, the wow stat of this entire analysis, isn't even the current revenue. It's the backlog.
The waiting list.
Essentially, yeah. The revenue backlog is currently sitting at roughly $56 billion.
56.
56 billion. That is up nearly 4 times year over year.
Wow. Okay, that is a massive safety net. That's basically future cash just waiting to be collected. But I have to play the skeptic here.
I was waiting for it.
Because revenue is great, but are they actually making any money? When I look at the bottom line, I see a lot of red ink.
You're seeing the net losses.
I am. Net losses are projected at 1.09 billion for 2025. They are burning cash at an incredible rate to build all this stuff out. That kind of burn rate makes me nervous.
And that is a valid concern, but you have to look at the unit economics. You can't just look at the net loss in isolation, not when a company is in this hyper-growth phase.
Okay.
If you look at the gross margins, they are actually very robust, coming in at 73.9%.
That is higher than I expected for hardware infrastructure. Usually hardware is a low-margin grind. Can you clarify for people listening, what's the difference here? Why does that distinction matter so much?
Sure. Think of it like a restaurant. Gross margin is a difference between what you sell a burger for and what the meat and bun cost you.
The profit on each burger.
Right. If that margin is high, it means the core business is profitable.
Right.
The net loss comes in because they're spending a fortune building 10,000 new restaurants at the same time.
The construction, the hiring.
All the expansion costs. CoreWeave's burgers, their cute cycles, are very profitable. They are just spending every penny plus debt to build more data centers.
Okay, that makes sense. So the underlying business model works. They're just scaling it as aggressively as humanly possible.
Exactly. And that's because they're getting better power deals. And they are optimizing how they allocate chips. They aren't just burning cash for no reason. They are investing in capacity that is already sold.
So you're saying the bleeding is temporary.
It's strategic. This is that inflection point I mentioned at the top.
Yeah.
We are expecting EBITDA to turn positive by the middle of this year, mid-2026.
And net profit.
The projections show them swinging to a net profit by Q1 of 2027.
So the argument is you endure the pain now for the profits that are maybe 12 to 18 months away.
Precisely. And you have to consider their competitive moat. I think a lot of people mistakenly think CoreWeave is just another cloud provider, like a smaller version of AWS or Azure.
Well, aren't they? They rent out servers. Why wouldn't I just use Amazon? They have everything.
It's different. They are AI native. The hyperscalers like AWS are generalists. They're like minivans.
Minivans.
Reliable, good for hauling groceries. They do everything for everyone. CoreWeave is a Formula One car. It is purpose-built for one thing: high-performance compute. They have access to specific tech that others struggle to get, like NVIDIA's GB300 NVL72 systems
Okay.
and the upcoming Rubin platform.
Break that down for me. Why does the Rubin platform matter to an investor?
Speed and efficiency. In the AI world, training these huge models takes months and costs hundreds of millions of dollars in electricity.
It's incredibly expensive.
So if you can cut that training time down by, say, 20%, because the hardware is better optimized, that saves companies millions. CoreWeave offers that specialized fast lane. They aren't trying to host your WordPress blog. They are trying to train the next GPT.
That relationship with NVIDIA is obviously key, but does having their phone number really guarantee success?
Well, it helps when NVIDIA has invested a total of $8.3 billion into the CoreWeave ecosystem.
$8.3 billion. Okay, that is not a casual bet.
No, they have deep ties.
Yeah.
Plus, they have contracts with OpenAI, Microsoft, and they just signed a deal with the Department of Energy for the Genesis mission. These are the kings of the industry.
So they are entrenched. Okay, the fundamentals are strong, the growth is there, even if profits are lagging. But let's pivot to the technicals.
Right.
Because, like we said, the stock price has been a disaster until, just yesterday.
It has been a ski slope, absolutely.
We mentioned that drop from the 52-week high of 187 down to the 80s. But that move yesterday, hitting 108, that was on high volume, right?
Huge volume. 72% above average.
Yeah.
That tells you this wasn't just retail traders messing around on their lunch break.
No, that's institutional money.
That kind of volume usually implies institutions are getting involved.
And what triggered it? Why did everyone suddenly decide to buy yesterday?
It was a combination of things. You had a big upgrade from D.A. Davidson moving to a buy rating and raising their target to 110.
So that helped.
But it was also the broader context. TSMC, the chip manufacturer, released really strong earnings.
Which signals that demand for AI chips is still red hot.
Exactly. If TSMC is selling chips, someone is buying them, and someone needs a place to plug them in. It validated the entire sector.
Looking at the key levels on the chart, it seems like support is holding up.
It is. We are seeing firm support right around the 50-day simple moving average.
Which is at, what, $80 and change?
Right around $80.52.
And for those who don't stare at charts all day, that 50-day average, it basically acts as a floor, right? It's the average price over the last 2 months.
Correct. It's a psychological floor. The fact that it bounced hard off that level is technically very significant. It looks like we had a capitulation washout.
A what?
A capitulation washout. It's where everyone who was going to panic sell finally did. They just gave up.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing accumulation.
So the weak hands are out and the stronger hands are coming in.
That's what it looks like. Once those sellers are gone, the only people left are the buyers. And that's when the price starts to recover.
Okay, so the charts are starting to look better. But let's talk about the vibe check. Let's move to sentiment.
Yeah.
Because if I just look at the news feed, it feels like the sky is falling.
This is where we see a massive disconnect.
Yeah.
If you look at the quantitative scores from news sentiment, it is bearish to strongly bearish.
That's terrifying.
It sounds terrifying, but
Yeah.
you have to peel back the onion.
Yeah.
That negative sentiment is almost entirely driven by the litigation headlines.
Ah.
It's not about the business fundamentals. It's about lawyers filing paperwork. An algorithm reads the word lawsuit and marks it as negative, but a human can see the nuance.
We'll get into the details of those lawsuits in a minute, but staying on sentiment, what do the actual analysts think? The people whose job it is to ignore the noise.
They're surprisingly bullish. Despite all the doom and gloom in the news feed, there are 17 buy ratings on the stock right now.
17. That feels like herd mentality. Are they just chasing the hype?
It could be, but the consensus price target is sitting around $124, and some are as high as $135.
So the pros are seeing significant upside from here.
They're looking at that $12 billion revenue projection and salivating. They're looking at the math while the headlines are looking at the drama.
However, I have to point out one thing that makes me uneasy. The insiders. They are selling.
Knew you were going to bring this up.
I have to. There has been about $840 million in insider selling over the last 3 months. The chief development officer, Brandon McBee, sold about $2.3 million recently. If the future's so bright, why are they cashing out?
It's a fair question, but context matters. A lot of that selling, especially with McBee, is related to tax obligations and RSUs.
Restricted stock units, basically stock they get paid in.
Right, and when those vest, you owe taxes on them immediately. Often you have to sell a portion just to pay the IRS. It's an automatic transaction, not a market call. He is also converting Class B shares to Class A.
So it's more like rebalancing.
Exactly. It looks like rebalancing more than a lack of faith. He isn't dumping his whole stake and running for the hills.
Okay, fair enough. But what is the smart money doing?
Institutional flows suggest they are looking past the lawsuits. They're positioning for that profit turn we talked about in 2026. They are buying the fear.
Speaking of fear, let's unpack the red flags. We can't do this properly without digging into the bear case. And the biggest bear in the room is this litigation.
It is the elephant in the room. In mid-January 2026, we saw multiple securities class action lawsuits filed.
And these aren't just generic, you lost me money lawsuits. They have very specific allegations.
You do. The main allegations are that CoreWeave overstated its capacity and hid delays regarding a specific data center in Denton, Texas.
Denton, Texas, of course.
And they also allege the company over-relied on a single third-party supplier.
Why does one site in Denton matter so much?
It's about credibility. If you tell Wall Street you have new capacity coming online in Q3 and it turns out there isn't even a roof on the building yet, that's a big problem.
It shakes the trust.
Exactly. It implies that maybe your other projections are optimistic too. It casts doubt on that whole $12 billion revenue number.
Okay, so what's the reality here?
The reality is the deadline for a lead plaintiff to emerge is March 13th, 2026.
That's a date to watch.
It is. But my take, this is a legal risk premium. The stock dropped 50+%. The market hates uncertainty. But rarely do these lawsuits result in the company collapsing.
It usually ends in a settlement.
It usually ends in a settlement.
Yeah.
I think the drop in price is already priced in this risk. The market has assumed the worst, so any news that isn't catastrophic is actually good news from here.
So you think the punishment already fits the crime?
I do.
But what about the balance sheet? Because it's not just legal fees they have to worry about. The debt-to-equity ratio is 2.66. That is high.
It is high.
Debt is over $14 billion. And on top of that, management expects CapEx to double in 2026.
It's a massive build-out.
They spent $12 to $14 billion in 2025, and they want to double that. Can they actually execute this without diluting shareholders into oblivion?
That is the execution risk. It is a valid fear. If interest rates spike, or if the AI bubble bursts, that debt becomes a massive anchor.
It could drag them under.
It could. But remember what I said about the backlog. They aren't building speculative data centers hoping someone shows up. They only spend on infrastructure when they have the contract in hand.
So the revenue is guaranteed before the shovel hits the dirt.
Exactly. It de-risks the debt significantly. Lenders know the cash is coming. But yes, with 41 data centers active and plans to add another gigawatt of capacity, any supply chain delay, like what happened in Denton, hurts their credibility. They have to execute perfectly.
So it's a high-wire act. They have the contracts, they have the demand, but they have to physically build it fast enough to get paid, all while carrying this massive backpack of debt.
That is the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And they have to do it while being sued. It's not for the faint of heart.
So what does this all mean? We've looked at the massive growth, the technical bounce, the scary lawsuits, and the heavy debt load. It's time for the verdict.
Right. When we weigh everything, the incredible demand, the NVIDIA backing, the backlog against the litigation and the debt, I am giving this a score of 7.5 out of 10.
7.5, that's a solid score. It's not a table-pounding buy, but it's definitely optimistic. Walk us through the thesis.
The thesis is simple. CoreWeave is an essential utility for the AI age. You cannot have the AI revolution without compute power, and CoreWeave is one of the best at providing it.
Yeah, the backlog.
The $56 billion backlog provides a safety floor that very, very few companies have. That is real money waiting to happen, and the stock is trading at a discount.
What's the valuation look like?
It's trading at approximately 9.3 times 2026 sales. For a company growing this fast, that is cheap. And it's cheap because of this temporary legal noise.
So what's the timeline for a listener thinking about this?
You need a horizon of 12 to 24 months. You are waiting for that EBITDA inflection point in mid-2026. If you buy now, you are betting that in 2 years, the lawsuits will be a footnote and the profits will be rolling in. This is not a trade for next week.
My final take is this. I see the upside. I really do. But if you are going to jump in, you need to watch that Denton data center progress like a hawk. And keep an eye on those March legal deadlines. If the legal situation gets uglier, you might just get a better entry price.
That's fair. This is definitely a buy for patient growth investors, but you have to be willing to stomach the volatility. It is not going to be a smooth, straight line up.
It never is with these high-growth names. Well, that brings us to the end of this discussion. It's a fascinating story of growth versus gravity.
Absolutely. And here's a final thought to leave you with. We talked a lot about the lawsuits and the debt, but think about the strategic value of that infrastructure. In a world where compute is the new oil, CoreWeave is sitting on a lot of wells. If a larger player decides they need that capacity now, could we see M&A activity? Could Microsoft or even NVIDIA just buy them out? It's something to mull over.
Always something to think about. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to this video to support the show. We'll see you in the next one.